An era of spiritual darkness. Listen to this, and it's nothing you don't know, but for the sake of our audience, I'll read it. Little by little, at first in stealth and silence, and then more openly as it increased in strength and gained control of the minds of men, the mystery of iniquity carried forward its deceptive and blasphemous work. Almost imperceptibly, the customs of heathenism found their way into the Christian church. The spirit of compromise and conformity was restrained for a time by the fierce persecutions which the church endured under paganism. But as persecution ceased and Christianity entered the courts and palaces of kings, she laid aside the humble simplicity of Christ and his apostles for the pomp and pride of pagan priests and rulers. And in place of the requirements of God, she substituted human theories and traditions. The nominal conversion of Constantine, the emperor, obviously, in the early part of the 4th century caused great rejoicing, and the world, cloaked with a form of righteousness, walked into the church. Now the work of corruption rapidly progressed. Paganism, while appearing to be vanquished, became the conqueror. Her spirit controlled the church. Her doctrines, ceremonies, and superstitions were incorporated into the faith and worship of the professed followers of Christ. The compromise, this is the last paragraph, because I want to go over some of the photographs here. The compromise between paganism and Christianity resulted in the development of the man of sin, foretold in prophecy as opposing and exalting himself above God. That gigantic system of false religion is a masterpiece of Satan's power, a monument of his efforts to seat himself upon the throne, to rule the earth according to his will. Page after page of pagan customs that ended up invading the church.
As you read that, I realize how much that's informed what I try to share on religious liberty. Only a few weeks ago in the Dominican Republic, to an international religious liberty group, many not Adventists, I pointed out that there is way too much religion in this country, way too much, but not enough spirituality. And that's really the key to what Ellen White's saying. The religion that has the form, but not the power, is the most pernicious thing to ever come along. And in spite of what many people think, our world is not becoming less religious, it's becoming more religious, but far less spiritual. And so we're entering, again, into a new dark age, in my view.
I want to talk a bit, Lincoln, about Baal, because I'm going to tell you, the more I look at these photographs, the more I'm convinced Baal worship is still very much alive and well in Roman Catholicism. And I think part of the call, "Come out of her, my people," involves showing this planet the purely pagan underpinnings of Roman Catholicism. Let me run through a couple of things that, and I jotted down a few instances where Baal, he was first found in the Bible with Balaam taking, or Balak taking them up into the high places of Baal. That's Numbers 22. Israel's first apostasy after the death of Joshua was to serve Baal. We find that in Judges 2:11. Gideon throws down the altars of Baal in Judges 6. Ahab marries Jezebel and serves Baal in 1 Kings 16. Of course, that's where Elijah comes into the picture and the drama with the prophets of Baal and has them slain. Jehu slays the worshippers of Baal in 2 Kings 10. Asa takes down the altars of the strange gods, 2 Chronicles 14. Josiah breaks down the altars and images of Baal, 2 Chronicles 34, 3 and 4. And what's interesting, that word image, we read in the King James, the images. The Hebrew word is chaman, C-H-A-M-A-A-N, and it actually means sun images. I got that from Alexander Hislop, his book, The Two Babylons.
Well, you know, Baal was like some of the heathen deities, was an elemental spirit, a fertility symbol, and then the power of the sun and the energy giver. And to me, it's very relevant for our age. the Christian age, Paul says, you know, why would you turn again to those elemental spirits?
Yes.
So that's the tendency of man.
I'm going to show you. He's part of the Canaanite pantheon. I don't know if you know this, but archaeologists digging in Syria, in the town of Ras Shamra or Ugarit, located clay tablets in which they found inscriptions referring to Baal as the son of Dagon. Dagon, that priest during the time of,
wasn't he a half fish, half man?
Half fish, half man. And Jim was the first one to show that to me. Let's see if I can find it. I'd like you to take a look at this here. You're up on it. The first little inkling I had was this drawing.
Yeah.
Notice, of course, half fish, half man. This photograph is taken from the Pergamon Museum in Berlin, where they've excavated tons of Middle Eastern or Eastern artifacts and brought them to Berlin. Here you see the priests with the entire fish mitre. It's a whole-bodied...
Makes you think a little bit about the origin of the Atlantis legend, doesn't it?
Well, no, you know where I'm going. Well,
what I mean is I believe that it's a remembrance of ancient paganism.
There you go. Over here is, once again, a priest with the fish mitre. Here, Sybil has a truncated one. Does this begin to make sense, what the Pope is wearing? I want to show you something.
Well, pretty much every symbol, as you're about to show me, pretty much every symbol of the papacy has its origins in paganism.
And I think it's important for us to see this. Here he is lying in repose, Pope John Paul II.
In state.
In state, beg your pardon, and with his Baal hat on, or Dagon hat. There we see Presidents Bush and Clinton.
We featured that on the front of Liberty magazine. To me,
you did.
That's just an incredibly prophetic, telling symbol.
Tell me about it.
Well,
you put it on the cover. What was the point that you were trying to get across?
Well, we distribute Liberty throughout the whole division and to some degree throughout the whole world. But still, we're primarily focusing on an American audience. And in a Protestant country where the Ku Klux Klan, which should live in infamy, but still that flourished because of deep-seated anti-Catholicism, where, as I often say in meetings, President Adams, in one of his letters, could rail against the papacy as that Kabbalistic Hindu form of religion that has such a deep-seated control that it may take 200 years for it to disappear. You know, that's an incredible statement, but he says it has a mortal wound at present. You know, all of that is in the past, and here we've got, in fact, President Bush was off to the side, wasn't he?
Yes, absolutely,
so
absolutely. That's the
there
wrong.
There were three presidents
seated there,
kneeling. Of course, they would say they were just at a funeral ceremony, but the symbolism was deep that they'd all come there to be present. One would have been exceptional, but to have basically the whole hierarchy of U.S. political power arrayed before this dead Pope, there can be no greater symbol, in my view. And it's not happened before. It was historic, just as historic as a little later, of course, President Bush personally went to Andrews Air Force Base to give a hero's welcome to Pope Benedict, without precedent for any leader, let alone just a Pope.
Do you know the significance of the date on which the Pope chose to come to this country?
No, it's escaped me, tell me. But I do believe that the papacy has great significance. And just to divert a little, the Pope's Regensburg speech that everybody got interested in because he seemed to insult the Islam, to me it was deeply significant that he mentioned an Iranian Muslim convert there. Deeply significant that it was given at a point of the Counter-Reformation and so on. You know, the times and the places and the allusions, they're all for a purpose.
Benedict shows up, and the people, they keep their dates. They know what they're doing. He shows up on the very day Lincoln was assassinated. I didn't see the headline in any newspaper. You know, really? Speaks at St. Joseph's Seminary. Anyway, that's a whole nother subject. But they know, they keep their dates, they honor their heroes.
Yeah.
But let's get back to the book. I want you to take a look at this. Take a look at another altar. See this inscription of the moon of the sun in the crescent moon.
That's the
and of course, yes, this predates Christianity by several hundred years.
Yeah.
And there it is again. And I want you to take a look here at the monstrance, which is the receptacle for the host or wafer or Eucharist that is used in the Roman Catholic Mass.
Well, you have that picture there that you were sharing earlier, and it brought back what I'd written in Liberty at the time of the Pope's visit. It sort of...
Here's the monstrance.
I watched him at Ground Zero give his Mass, or his, I think it was a Mass, but
him who?
Pope Benedict.
Okay.
When he came to Ground Zero. And here he's waving around the monstrance.
Yes.
And I thought just the irony here in a nominally Protestant country here, it's like waving paganism before
right in your face.
You know,
right in your face.
Notice? It couldn't be more provocative. Yeah, look at the size of it. I mean, it's just amazing.
I know. I have a third one here. This is his predecessor,
It'd be funny
John Paul.
if it wasn't such serious business.
But the point I'm making here is that what Jim did for me was open my eyes to the vestiges of sun worship that were at play in Roman Catholicism. I dare say most Roman Catholics don't have a clue as to the meaning of all of this.
But historians do. It's the simplest. Any encyclopedia will tell you this.
Yes.
There's no debate on this stuff. Most every major symbol of Catholicism like this that are very prominent. It's a clear track.